Hey everybody, welcome back. One of the new subscribers observed in our videos that we do not have a basic how-to video on how to do Muenster casting, which we'll go ahead and do a demo in this video for you using the following. We'll be using a couple rolls of padding, a couple rolls of fiberglass, a long stockinette, and a little sleeve here for the thumb. That's just my tissue. And we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead and take the sleeve, and we want to cut the sleeve long enough to not only go a little bit past the fingers of the patient, but to go up actually past the elbow. The Muenster cast, there's two main Muenster casts you'll see out there. There is the Muenster cast that is cut away here in the crease, the anterior portion, and there's a posterior portion left behind the elbow. And then there's another version of the same where in the anterior space here it's cut away, and also it's cut away below the elbow. We'll be demoing the first one just for time purposes, and we'll talk about some of the specifics about a Muenster type cast. The basic stuff, you guys have all seen this before. Cut away a little hole so that the thumb can stick out, just like so. Take your little 2-inch stockinette, fold it about halfway, cut away the corner, which again you guys have seen before. You take that corner, I'll go slow for those of you that haven't seen me do this before. You have a little corner cut away, you spread open the top portion, run the top portion through the fingers. Here's the remaining portion right here, which will go on top of the thumb, just like so. And I'll show you what purpose that serves here in a moment when we're doing the padding. You've seen me roll padding on numerous videos. I'll shear away the beginning piece just so there's not a hard edge to begin with as it lays on the skin, just like so. And we'll start rolling our padding very gradually, not too tight at all. It can be a little snug, but if you're pulling so tight that this rips, then you're pulling too tight. You see me doing the shearing method here as I go around the thumb. If you prefer, as you're coming around the thumb, on the palmar side or on the base side, you can fold if you prefer to fold, or you can cut with scissors. It's your choice. And we'll get rid of the wrinkles there and shear that away, and we'll work our way all the way down the arm. And I'll get a little bit more specific when it comes to up here in the crease. We'll talk about that in just a moment. So as you start to come into the crease, remember that the Muenster cast that we're going to do in this demo is going to go up and behind the elbow, right back in here. The main reason that the MD is going to order a Muenster cast is he or she will want the patient to start flexing and extending their arm without rotating their arm. This usually is the case with when you have a mid-shaft fracture and it's a post-op case, or the bones are not setting safely, and they want to give the two long bones, the radius and the ulna, they want to give them more time to heal more solid, or they want to give the hardware more time to set up. So what they'll do is they'll have you make a very, very modified long arm cast, and we'll cut away this extra here in just a few moments. I will create an extra bumper for the hand, create an extra bumper for the thumb, just so that if the patient, adult or child, if they're very active with their hands. And of course, we'll lay the fiberglass on here. We'll fold this over. We'll make it look nice and neat. Try to maintain a neutral position unless otherwise ordered by the MD. Sometimes they'll put them in the Montasia position where they're more supinated. So we're going to stop there for a minute, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here to customize this in just a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut away the portion of the padding where the patient's going to be moving, where they're going to be flexing and extending their arm. We want to make sure to go about 2 fingers below the bend right there. You don't want them to come up to 90 and it starts to rub, especially if you have a person with a more muscular arm than myself and it starts to rub on the bicep, it'll cause problems. So we're going to go leave the padding up to the crease, and you're going to see why in just a moment. So we're going to leave that attached for the time being. I'm going to get my gloves on and we're going to start rolling the fiberglass. So textbook says we should start distal and work our way proximal. So we will do that just to follow the textbook rules. Of course, we'll do everything we've done before, numerous videos. Rolling the first layer of fiberglass. And again, if you prefer not to cut the fiberglass, you can fold it, you can fan fold it through that palmar space there if you prefer doing that instead of cutting. We'll roll our way up. We'll ensure the patient is maintaining as close to neutral as possible unless ordered otherwise. As you start working your way up the arm past mid shaft, you want to have them go ahead and flex a little bit. And as you come up, you want to start to slant, excuse me, you want to start to slant over the elbow. Now don't worry about this, we're going to address that in just a moment. You're going to come up high, and it's okay if you go past that padding, that's totally okay, because the MD has ordered you to go higher than the elbow to eliminate the movement of the medial and the lateral movement of the condyles. So we'll stop there. And then what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll use our sock to our advantage, and we'll pull the padding up, excuse me, not the padding, the fiberglass, and we'll trim back, and we'll use the padding that we left attached as our guide. And then in a moment, you're going to see why we left that padding attached. And we'll get over here and we'll lift up again. And we'll cut like we talked about. You want to go about 1 to 2 fingers below that bend so that they have plenty of movement in the flexion extension department. And then, my gloves are getting kind of tacky, so then what we'll do is I'll go ahead and bring up like so, and I'm going to mold just for a moment. And so this stuff here you've seen before, where we fold this over, we make it look nice and neat before we put the next layer of fiberglass. That's pretty common sense stuff by now, after, you know, whatever we've done, 20, 30 videos or whatever. But I like to fold 2 or 3 times, especially when it's a larger patient. And by larger, I mean an adult or older than a teen. They tend to be a little bit more active with their hands. So I like to fold it 2 or 3 times, and it makes it extremely nice and puffy there. And then as you come over here to the part that we saved, you can actually trim this a little bit. You don't need this much. And again, fold it over. Fold these edges over so that corner of the fiberglass doesn't rub on the patient. And what you want to do is you want to fold it over softly. I'll help her out here. So softly. All the way over, even the rear portion of the cast. I know you can't see it from the angle that patient's holding the video for me, but now here on the front surface, you actually want to pull a little tighter. And you want to start creating what looks like, for lack of a better term, it looks like bootstraps. You want to create high up bootstraps there. And if for whatever reason the patient's very muscular, or you're having a hard time pulling and getting that to stay, you can trim it. Just a little. Don't ruin your cast. And you can trim it, and you can do it, you can create anchors instead, and that works out just perfectly. Now this is a little high for my taste, so in a minute when we pause the video, I'm going to trim that down probably about another finger's worth. So just like that. And then you'll see in a moment here when I anchor it down as we proceed on to the second phase. So I did a couple things here. We paused while I was getting this all set up before phase 2 because I promised you guys that I would show you guys any tricks I had to pass along to you guys along the way. I wanted to show you as we come back down here to where I shaped the top portion, the proximal portion of the Muenster. As you're folding the stockinette down and you're getting those nice corners there to keep them from rotating. If you have a hard time pulling that stockinette down, you can trim it. Just don't trim it so far, so deep in that it ends up, you can't lock it down with the second layer. And then another trick you'll see here that I used tape. I used a couple little spots of tape, just a couple little spots to hold it in place. Now you could say that I did that for video reasons, so it frees up both my hands, which is technically true, but it's an okay trick to use, and nobody's going to really harp on you if you do that if you're working solo and you have to free up your hands. But again, just like I was showing you with my free arm, when the Muenster's done correctly and it goes over the condyles, it totally takes away, I'll hold her up here at the bicep, it takes away the opportunity for rotation, but it allows her to go this one's going to go all the way to 90 with no problem. So we'll go ahead and start with the second layer now. I want to show you one more trick, real quick trick. Take an extra piece of padding, just a scrap piece of padding, and watch what I'm going to do here. Watch this. You're going to tuck it in. Just tuck it in right there at the top, just lightly. Don't, obviously don't hurt the patient. And if you're doing a cast on a patient, they're injured, but more than likely it's more mid-shaft. Just leave that there for a minute. You're going to see why in a second. Take your second layer and start with a slant so that you go all the way behind the elbow and you come up. Now you're not going to be able to get a really, really good solid slant here without coming across the skin. Don't worry about it. Go ahead and do it because you have that scrap there. We're going to talk about this in just a minute. Come back around, give yourself that slant again. You're creating that V shape without stressing yourself out about going over the skin. We're going to talk about that in just a sec. And then you start working your way down. Again, we all know we're supposed to go proximal to distal, but I really wanted to start there because I really wanted you guys to see something. So we'll finish this up down here like we would normally do. This is all, this is all Ortho 101 stuff here. And again, you guys know I favor the cut method, so that's just me. And we're almost done with the cast. I just want to show you some final things here. I'll bring this last one all the way out so I can catch that anchor. I'll anchor here and I'll anchor here. There we go. And then we'll finish here. There's no reason to go much thicker than that. This is a pretty thick cast as it is, 2 layers, and you have plenty of security. And then before it becomes all the way dry, take this scrap that you had, go ahead and free that up. Take your fingers, and I want you to trim about 1/10 of an inch below your padding, or excuse me, below your stockinette. And this ends up turning out just really, really nicely. Take your time on the cut. You have time to work with it. It hasn't hardened yet. Make it look nice and professional, and try to salvage as much of your stockinette as possible, but you're getting rid of the portion that would have made contact with the flesh. And again, you can get in here and get real OCD with it if you want. Just make it look nice. Now stay right there. Oh, I cut my glove, but that's okay. That's okay. We're going to put a little smear of water on there just to laminate it. I'll keep my thumb off the fiberglass. Get your finger, if you're using lotion or Surgy lube or soap or whatever you're using, you can do that too. And just kind of rub that down. Rub that down. Give it a nice, like a non-sharp edge, I guess is what you would say. And you can always instruct the patient, if something pops up on them, they can just take a little nail clip or a little nail file to it. And then you do your shaping, of course. You want it to be nice and snug. And if I may, let me take this thing off. This is, and I'll show you from both angles here, this is your Muenster cast. And I'll show you the back portion here without showing the patient's face. Again, oh, and there's a little part right here where I slipped up, so I'll flatten that down. But otherwise, you can see how it comes up high on the rear, and it allows them to flex and extend. There you go. And come all the way down. And again, you have about 2 finger space there. You could even do 3 fingers if you wanted. And thank you for watching.